I'm building this 1938 Harley-Davidson WLD 45 cubic inch bobber to be ridden on the street, but Ryan, who owns it, also wants to be able to ride it on the track at tons of speed. So do a quick disconnect on the headlight, a quick disconnect on the tail light, pop the footboards off, and put pegs on it. And that's, you know, what Class C racing was. You rode the bike to the track, you took the lights and the footboards off of it, put number plates on it, raced it, and then put your equipment back on and rode it home. So I'm doing the same thing with this here. So I have a really cool little brass LED light with a tag frame. Show you how I quick and easy make a bracket that is really easy to take on and off this bike, but that will be sturdy, and he'll be able to ride this thing on the street and race it on the track. I start with a steel billet slug. It's 1 inch in diameter. I have 700 thousandths slot here on the rear frame dropout, so I'm going to go ahead and machine 300 thousandths of an inch, which is a little over a quarter inch off of this. 150 thousandths on the top, 150 thousandths on the bottom. It's going to give me a flat on either side, and I can slide it in and out of here. And what that'll do is when I bolt it on, it'll keep it from being able to vibrate up and down because of the flats. A bunch of you have asked, so I'm going to show my setup in the Bridgeport milling machine, because I don't usually show my setup. I usually just set up and machine, but I need to hold a round part. So the way I hold a round part in the vise is I use a V-block. A V-block helps secure that part and keeps it, you know, really holds it true in two planes. And then the vise gives me control in my third plane, which is the key to doing anything on a milling machine. You can see as I rotate the V-block, the part rotates. So if I get my V-block level, you can make a really good assumption that the part is parallel to the table. This isn't a precision part I'm making here. So if for some reason it's off a little bit, this is okay, because this is a license tag bracket. If it was an engine part or something more critical, then you would be more concerned about it. But the way I have it set up now, it's fair to assume that a little bit of variance is okay. And then I'm gonna bring my tool down to the part and lock it. And that's gonna be my 0 point. I bring my part just into contact with the tool. I'm gonna select my depth, and then I'm gonna machine 150 thousandths of an inch off of this side, 150 thousandths of an inch off of the other side, you know, going in and out. And that's gonna give me my 100 thousandths flat section that I need to go in that axle dropout. So here I'm gonna raise my knee, which is gonna give me my depth of cut. One full rotation is 100 thousandths of an inch. Move the cutter to the other side of the part. Before I pop it out of the vise, I check my measurement with a caliper just to make sure, so I don't have to go back and reset it up in the machine, because that's the hardest part usually, is setting the part up in the machine. So that's simple for a round part to hold it at V-block. There's my steel slug. Now here's the rig that's going to mount my taillight to the bike and allow me to remove it with the turn of one bolt. So I machine this steel bung in my milling machine. You can see how that fits right there in that axle dropout, really nice. Then I've got a bolt, heavy 1/2 inch 13 pitch bolt, lock washer, and the thick flat washer that I flattened on the belt sander. And you want a real thick washer here because you need good holding power here. The last thing you want is this thing falling off for two reasons. One, you're gonna lose your tail light and your tag if it falls off, and it's gonna break your wires and just go on down the highway. Or the worst thing that could happen is it gets caught up in your rear wheel somehow and cause you to have an accident. So I machined the flat on this washer so that the washer doesn't interfere with the axle spacer, because if it does, it's gonna push everything back way out of the limits of the dropout here. So I go ahead and screw in my bolt. Grab my 3/4 inch Mac Monster Garage wrench. Thank you, Monster Garage, 2001. Tighten that up. Now it can't pivot because of the flats, and it isn't going to fall out because I got a 1/2 inch bolt holding it. And if I need to adjust my chain, I just loosen my axle, hit my axle adjusters, and it'll shove this back as far as it needs to be, but it still has plenty of this dropout holding it in place. I use a Sharpie and mark the holes from my taillight onto a piece of steel plate. So I brought the clutch welding table over here. I love this thing because it's portable. I can bring it right over to the HMC lift and weld right here. You know, it's so nice. You know, sometimes I want to use my heavy tables in the back, but when I want to weld local, it's such a nice move. So I'm going to go ahead and TIG weld. This is the bracket that's going to hold the taillight and tag bracket, and then this little piece of 3/4 inch thick wall tubing that I'm going to use to join the bracket to the piece I machined on a milling machine. So this is 1/4 inch plate, 1/8 inch thick wall tubing. So I'm welding about 135 amps. I use this little step wedge from my milling machine clamping kit to reinforce this fin when I'm pushing against it with the drill against the other fin.